Coming up, it's a battle between function and fashion.
I never go for practical.
We'll show you how a boot that does both gets made.
A hat maker with friends in high places.
This is a hat I designed for Madonna Beyonce, J-Lo.
We have a bit of hanky-panky with these cheeky ladies.
Butt cheeks can be very pesky when it comes to fit.
And we'll catch up with a classic Canadian jacket that's one for the books. This is Style Factory. Let's take a trip down memory lane to the antiseptic corridors of your youth. And nothing says high school like this, the varsity jacket. It's the ultimate jock status symbol, paid for on the field with your very own blood, sweat, and tears.
Totally a symbol of jocks and cheerleaders.
There was always the cool guy in the school that was wearing the varsity jackets. I would have made him give it to me because, I mean, that's what girls do.
Historically, the jackets were given to a school's most successful athletes. And that cliquey nature really bugged this guy.
I always wanted a leather sweater and the varsity jacket, and, well, I never made, the varsity team.
Michael Budman and his Roots Canada co-founder Don Green carried that chip on their shoulders for years. But in 1979, Roots unleashed the red and white varsity jacket to the masses. No sweat required. That's when a jacket normally associated with school kind of blew up the 80s and made Roots a massive success.
It just happened, it was sort of bigger than both of us.
The varsity jacket is two-tone, with leather sleeves, a contrasting wool or felt body, and a striking lettercrest on the front. The jackets take about 3 hours to make in a surprisingly intimate and old-school process. And they all start as pristine, white Italian leather hides, stored in Toronto's 50,000 square foot leather factory. The leather will make the sleeves, and before the hides hit the factory floor, they're given a thorough once-over by Jason.
Well, I'm looking for some defects, some holes, scratches, and some tearing. It's important I mark it so they don't cut it.
The hides are run through this computerized fabric cutter. Mechanical arms use lasers to trace and cut the sleeve pieces. On the other side, the sleeves simply peel off. While the leather is cut, the patches or crests get made.
Those crests are the beginning of the varsity jacket story.
A story that goes back to the Ivy League baseball diamonds of 1865.
Harvard University were actually instrumental in the development of this style. They were one of the first universities to put a letter on their sports uniforms. Soon after that, colleges across the states were lettering up.
By the 50s, Letterman sweaters and varsity jackets were the go-to for preppy teens everywhere.
When I think of varsity jacket, I think of Greece. That's what they were all wearing.
The proportion, the size, the graphics, it all takes a lot of detailing, and it really makes or breaks the product, I feel.
To get the detailing uniformly perfect, the Canada and lettercrests are outlined by this computerized embroiderer that can shoot out 12 intricate R crests in just 20 minutes. Then, this hand-cranked machine fills in the outline crests using a chenille stitch.
I think hand-making these items are a throwback to when hands-on quality was apparent.
The chenille stitch is a kind of arched loop that's packed tightly on the canvas to create the 3D crests.
Chenille crest's got more body. Embroidery is good too, but chenille is the real thing.
Roots is totally an icon for Canada. I think it's a great way to, show off your Canadian pride. When I travel, I always pack a Roots hoodie. Just your way of showing I'm Canadian and I'm traveling and, be nice to me.
The main body of the jacket is made up of melton, a thick felt-like wool with real gravitas.
Melton is a flannel that's very durable, very weatherproof, and really feels good on your body.
The back and front panels are traced onto the Melton by Rita before she cuts them by hand with an electric straight knife. The crests are then stuck to the front, back, and sleeve panels. Now, all the parts are crafted and production moves to an area called the rink, naturally. And it's on this hallowed ground where the technicians get to work. First, the pockets are sewn in, an integral part of the jacket's design, and vital for carrying life's modern essentials.
Do you really put stuff in your pockets on a jacket? You have a purse for that.
Then a seamstress known as the closer puts the whole thing together, starting by joining the front and back panels. The sleeve panels are sewn into actual sleeves, then attached to the body. Finally, hand-stamped holes mark where the snaps go, which are punched in by this snappy machine.
For me, I think a varsity jacket is best styled in its classic look with a crisp white t-shirt, nice pair of jeans, and a cool pair of sneakers.
The varsity jacket, it has a sense of nostalgia, and to see it on the street now, and to see how people play with it, it makes you smile.
From a guy who couldn't make the team when he was in school, Michael used roots to make himself the captain.
Fedoras are so common, they're almost easy to take for granted. But this fedora, unlike most fedoras, is a very big deal. The Eric Javits Big Deal Fedora in cream with a royal blue accent band.
This hat is an unbelievable hat because it really looks good on so many different face shapes. It looks great with long, free-flowing hair. It looks good with bobs. It looks good with shorter hair. It really depends on whoever's wearing it.
Fedora hats, it's a must-have if you're gonna travel anywhere beach-related, you're gonna be exposed to the sun, you need to have a fedora hat.
Wear that fedora with dresses, jean shorts, anything.
There's an element of mystery. The person who knows how to wear it, there's an automatic cool factor.
My hats really transcend trend and they transcend being just an accessory because they're functional.
Eric Javits is the meticulous owner and chief designer of Eric Javits Hat Company, based in Long Island, New York. He's been making hats for 30 years and is kind of a big deal himself.
This is a hat I designed, custom designed for Madonna to wear in a video. This is a very pretty sun hat that I designed for Beyonce to wear. And this is actually a hat that J-Lo wore in a photo shoot. Yes.
Eric was already making a name for himself as a young designer in the 70s. But things really took off when his wild hats started to bounce him past the red velvet and into New York's most exclusive club.
Steve Rubel, who was the owner of Studio 54, spotted us. I felt it was like a magic moment.
Even though I missed the days of Studio 54, I know that it was the place to be. And the only rule was you had to be rich, famous, or beautiful to get in.
As this tastemaker's career unfolds, Eric's just as interested in function as high fashion. And that's led Eric to his magical fedora.
When you hear the word fedora, does anyone not think of a well-dressed gangster?
Well, yeah, but that was 80 years ago. The modern take on the fedora is the straw Panama fedora. Popular, even though they don't make great travel companions.
Opening your suitcase, pulling out your hat, and it's all crushed and wrinkled is like, wah-wah.
I've been known to travel with 2 hats on my head. It never goes in my suitcase.
After 15 years of being in the hat business, all I was hearing was, my husband's tired of carrying all these hat boxes. I heard it all.
So Eric conceived his big deal fedora to be the hat you can pack. But he had to invent and patent a brand new material to make it.
Right here, we're looking at the raw material, which is a squishy braid. I named it that because it best described what it could do. The fiber has a built-in memory. That's what's in the braid that makes it pop back. It's a miracle material. It's magic.
Magically beautiful, yes. But there is some science. The braid is a synthetic resin polymer designed to mimic the look of straw, which is what most cheap and cheerful fedoras are made from. But the big deal fedora doesn't crack when it's crumpled and springs back to its famous shape.
I like the feel of it. I like that it's kind of weightless and it's so strong. I mean, it's just so durable. It's just been very good to me.
Making a big deal fedora is pretty straightforward. Reels of the trademarked material will get woven into the hat shape by a machinist. Today, it's Margaret.
We're going to combine these two braids, the wider one and the narrow one. And then you're going to take that width braid to make the actual crown.
As the crown expands, the hat shape and size are tested with wooden models like this one. Once the crown has its shape, Margaret adds an accent band with a darker braid material.
The contrast band is very important to sort of perk the whole thing up.
No one wants wrinkles, and the best SPF is a hat.
Protecting the face is the fedora's signature wide brim, which is woven on under the contrast band, styled into the oval shape.
The brim is doubled because you don't want ultraviolet rays penetrating onto the face.
Margaret then adds a dark outer edge to the brim, giving the fedora a finished look. But it's not ready to wear yet, as a strip of thin fabric is sewn inside the crown.
We call them sweatband, although a lot of women say they don't sweat.
Ew, I don't, no, I'm glowing. Sweat. We're glowing. It's dew.
Finally, heat from steam locks the fedora's shape into the squishy braid's memory. And the big deal fedora is now ready for your suitcase.
The more rumpled it gets is actually good because it takes on your character and it actually becomes part of you. Take pride in it, cherish it, and, you know, protect it.
Who doesn't love a good ankle boot?
Oh, I love ankle boots. Lace-up ones with the zippers, ones with like punk rocked out, love them.
You can wear it with everything, with a skirt, with a dress to make it look a little more edgy, with pants, jeans. It's that one thing that you need in your closet.
But is it the fashion or the fit that's so appealing?
Every single girl needs a pair of those power kick-ass heels that they can comfortably walk in.
Never go for practical. Fashion all the way.
Luckily, Les Canadiennes got you covered on all fronts. Their Miranda boot can do it all.
And there's not a lot of shoes that you can wear during winter, so it's kind of a lifesaver.
Speaking of winter, Montreal, Quebec has not only edged out Toronto as Canada's fashion capital, it's also home to Les Canadiennes' secret weapon, Penny Schuster.
All the shoes are tested by me before they're put into production. I think that men don't really know what it's like to be in a woman's shoes. Women designing shoes really understand what comfort is about and what they want to look like.
The ankle bootie is perfect because it makes you look taller, gives you that little height that you need to make your butt look nice, and you're not actually wearing like heels. It's kind of a good in-between.
Penny and her husband Giovanni own the company. They start each collection with a prototype built to show off their trademark fabric, a resistant and luxurious waterproof suede, considered one of the most deluxe fabrics in fashion.
You have to look after suede. It's like grooming. You have to spray it, you have to brush it, but it is actually something that lends warmth and texture to a look.
I love suede. Anything in suede always looks expensive.
Sheets of the suede are brought out to the factory floor and cut to size with a Stetson.
It's basically like a cookie cutter.
Each cutout is converted into the top part of the boot, known as the upper. Then it's matched with the lining, molded, and sewn together before the zipper is installed. And the bootie is taken over to a toe press, which uses heat to activate the leather, and a cold press to crimp the front part of the shoe. While we think of them now as the ultimate versatile footwear, the ankle boot actually dates back to the Victorian era.
Between the 1800s and 1900s, ankle boots became super popular because they coincided with rising hemlines and women were able to show off a little bit more skin.
The next step might seem obvious, but the plain boots need to be foot-shaped. So, this mold simulates the shape of the foot and temporarily holds all of the shoe's pieces together before the sole is added.
This defines what your shoe is going to look like. This really is the basis of footwear making.
The shoe's insole is stapled onto the last, and the suede upper is slipped on. Then it's fitted into a toe laster, which closes the front of the shoe, and a side laster, which secures and forms it to the insole. With the shoes fitted, they head to a buffer that vibrates to smooth out any wrinkles that may have formed in the fabric. Finally, the heel is leveled in preparation for the sole, all to maintain the integrity of the leather.
Italy is the motherland of leather and footwear.
It's also where Penny got her design training.
I went to Milan to study in a very renowned shoe design school.
And it's there she discovered her husband, Giovanni, as well as that Italian suede we've talked so much about. Suede is a supple material, so it needs to get baked in a conveying oven.
We put it in the oven for about 9 minutes. We find that that's a magic number for us.
Baking sets the fabric so it doesn't stretch with wear. The hardened boots are now ready for cementing. Glue is applied to the base of the upper, and the sole is hand-pressed onto the boot. Then, they're put into a machine that adheres the sole.
I put it in the sole press and it crushes it at 150 pounds. So the glue sticks together and it doesn't unglue.
And then it goes to the freezer. It sets everything in place, and we know that the shoe is well made.
Finally, the foot-shaped mold is taken out and the heel secured.
It's stable. It looks like it's a really high heel, but it's actually not that high because it has a platform.
That wide platform is the key to the ankle boot's enduring popularity. By spreading the pressure across a wider area, you get the same lift and look as high heels, but with maximum comfort.
And that's a shoe that you can have forever. What shoes don't I love? Oh yeah, flats. Ugh.
Any woman will tell you, panty lines immediately ruin a great outfit. Enter the thong.
You don't wear it because it looks good. You wear it because you don't see it.
It's quite sexy, woman wearing thong.
Thong has a lot of power.
And you have Gail and Lita to thank for that. They're business partners and friends who saw the arrival of 1980s fashion as an opportunity.
It was a time when women's trousers and jeans were getting tighter. Women were concerned about panty lines, and it seemed like a backless panty was the optimum garment to wear underneath.
Gail is the creative director at Hanky Panky's New York facility, where they make over 2 million thongs a year, starting with what's hot for the season.
We review color, then we focus in on the individual styles and the components, the trims, the laces, the fabric, but we work the old-fashioned way. We drape on a form to make sure we like the concept. When we are satisfied, we then make a production pattern.
That pattern is taken to the production warehouse, which is stacked to the brim with rolls of nylon stretch lace. Nylon has been called the dream fabric for lingerie because it's soft, silky, and malleable. This ultra-modern, man-made textile keeps its gorgeous sheen no matter how far it stretches. Perfect for Hanky Panky's revolutionary one-size-fits-all style.
The one-size waistband is a combination of nylon and spandex. It stretches enormously without binding on the body or without shrinking in width. So it keeps its shape when it's on a wide range of bodies. It's possible to make one size fits all because there are no butt cheeks involved.
I find them very comfortable. I'm a good friend with the thong.
The stretch lace is first unrolled onto a table and left all bunched up for 24 hours.
We relax it, we let it come back to its most natural state, and then we cut it. And that's when you have your truest pattern piece and your truest fit.
Butt cheeks can be very pesky when it comes to fit. They come in all shapes and sizes.
Which is why the body of the garment is made of 100% nylon. The trim is 90% nylon and 10% spandex. And the crotch lining is 100% cotton for breathable comfort.
And for such a delicate fabric, it's highly durable. They last forever. Sometimes not a good thing for us.
Fabric is brought to the cutting room floor and loaded onto cradles. From there, it's spread out and stacked, layer on top of layer before getting marked.
A marker is a big cookie cutter of all the patterns. Put all the patterns on there, and that's what the cutter cuts.
The marked stacks are loaded onto a block, and a layer of plastic is vacuum sealed over top to hold the layers together. The automatic cutting machine is a high-speed industrial engine that cuts the stretch lace into the thong's individual components: waistbands, leg finish trim, thread, and that notorious strip that holds it all together.
When the cut pieces come off the automated cutting machine, they're bundled, they're coordinated with proper color threads, waistband trim, leg trim, labels.
Assembly relies on craftsmanship, and pieces are brought to the sewing brigade. Each thong uses 30 yards of thread to stitch the flattering V-front, V-back waistband, and comfy crotch. Once sewn together, they're individually rolled.
Rolling them actually allowed us a whole new audience by sitting by the cash register, people who are on their way out and want to pick up a great new color of their favorite thong.
Hanky Panky is arguably one of the most comfortable and tasteful thongs, as long as you're wearing them correctly.
A major no-no when wearing a thong is letting anybody know that you're wearing one because it's risen above your hemline. Nobody wants to see a whale tail.
A cardinal rule that, when broken, can lead to disaster. Seriously.
Rumor is, it was Monica Lewinsky's revealed thong that kind of piqued Bill Clinton's interest and got the whole controversy started.
Your underwear should be underwear, not overwear.
Coming up, classic meets contemporary. A traditional scarf is turning fashionable heads.
We meet the guy who made a briefcase for Obama.
You know, you're the president. You have people carrying stuff for you.
A Canadian-made formal dress gets fans in high places.
He's found his perfect muse. It's Sophie Trudeau.
And one of America's oldest sneakers gets a custom makeover.
Full-on Rastafarian colors: red, black, green, and yellow.
This is Style Factory.
Not long ago, the trusty leather briefcase was a boring box stuffed with contracts, calculators, and spare white-collar shirts. All business, no style.
A briefcase for me will always signify a businessman, especially when you think about a London businessman with his umbrella, his bowler hat, and his briefcase.
But man, how times have changed.
I think that a lot of manufacturers have learned how to take something old, modernize it, and make it sexy.
The Frank Clegg English briefcase in tan leather is a classic yet modern briefcase. Finished with brass hardware, built to give you the confidence to own any boardroom, wherever you are.
In my briefcase, I usually have, damn, what do I have in my briefcase? Wow, just like work stuff.
Pens and phone chargers, tablet, maybe snacks.
Tic Tacs, lip gloss.
This is Clegg, Frank Clegg. He's been making quality leather bags with his bare hands for over 45 years.
Just decided to try this for a while to see if it worked out, and I'm still seeing if it works out.
He's being modest because one customer is high profile and very powerful.
So I got a call from the White House one day, and they wanted to buy a briefcase, and it was going to be for Mr. Obama, and they ordered one. We made it just like we did everything else.
So no biggie there.
Obama's briefcase, I think you're gonna find secrets of the world.
I feel like Obama's probably just carrying the briefcase around for style. You know, you're the president. You have people carrying stuff for you.
The tanned leather hides live in Clegg's Massachusetts factory and are carried to the cutting area by Frank's son, Andrew.
lucky we got pretty good hides. So for example, I got scarring, a couple of little tick bites. You got some fat wrinkles. Some people don't find them as appealing, but to me, it adds kind of more of a character to the bag in itself.
Areas with scarring and tick bites won't be cut. And as you can see, Andrew's just as passionate about leather as his dad. Handy when he and his brother inherit the business one day.
You know, I've been doing this my whole life, so it's just common sense for me. But it's going to take a while before they get to that point. But when they get to that point, then it's all over.
My dad, he's like the heart of the business. He does basically everything. He's a master at his craft.
But even the master has to surrender to technology. This automated CNC cutter uses a tiny hacksaw to cut the leather, the only automatic machine the Cleggs have.
Once the leather is cut, that's when the work really begins.
The pieces are then sent through a splitter, which takes layers off the bottom of the leather, bringing everything to a uniform thickness. A skiver shaves the edges to give them an angular effect, which makes for better, stronger stitching. Important for leather.
So the skiver also allows you to go on an angle. So if you're putting a pocket onto the back of a bag and you want to eliminate the bulk.
I think most briefcases are made from leather because they're durable and they look better with age.
The briefcase body is now ready for assembly. First, a metal bar gets pushed through the arch of the back panel.
The metal bar is to support the top of the briefcase so when you're carrying it, it doesn't sag. And also the straps are attached at the end so it has support, supports the whole bag.
Then the master gets to work on his craft, sewing pockets onto the inside organizer panel.
We use a gold color stitch or a yellow stitch. And so we can show all the details that we do pretty well on that.
Meanwhile, the top handle is made.
The handle is definitely one of the key elements. It's the one item that you're using all the time.
So it's given a robust treatment, threading a metal bar through the two handle pieces, squeezing the outer piece over the inner one. D-rings are then added, before Frank uses a rivet setter to bash the brass rivets that hold the handle firmly in place. Another worker details the edges of the body straps. Burning off excess thread with a match seals the thread so it won't unstitch later. Frank can now attach the body straps to the bag, adding the roller buckles to the tail end of the strap.
A roller buckle is a buckle that has a roller built in. I've always liked the fact that they treat the leather so well that that's kind of buckles I tend to use.
The bag is given one final buff and polish, and it's ready to be shipped to your office or a bag store near you.
I'm thinking like 6 months, 10 years ahead, whether you're carrying a handbag or a briefcase, it's part of you. There's going to be some time down the future you're going to say, man, that's the bag. I'm so happy I get that, and it's my friend.
Few pieces of everyday clothing are as misunderstood as a Muslim woman's hijab. So let's set the record straight once and for all.
So a misconception that people have with the headscarf is that it's not a choice and that every girl that is Muslim has to wear it. That is 100% not true. The girl chooses to wear it when she wants to wear it.
I don't think anybody is forced to do that. I think it's a personal belief and faith. Just because you do wear hijab does not mean that you don't appreciate fashion and you don't have style.
It's why the demand for high-end, fashionable headscarves is on the rise.
The Middle Eastern market is not an emerging market. It really is the market for fashion. And you see brands from Tom Ford to Dolce & Gabbana embracing the style of clothing that Middle Eastern women want to wear.
Modest fashion is a market predicted to have a global worth of $284 billion by 2019. That's 4 times the bridal wear market, 3 times the sports footwear market, and double the children's wear market. And at the center of it all is that simple piece of fabric covering the head and neck, the hijab.
The practice of veiling or covering certain parts of the body is not something that's purely associated with Islam. It's something that can be found across all of the major Abrahamic religions.
If you look at cave paintings from ancient Egypt, if you look at paintings from ancient Rome and Greece, women have always covered their heads.
Marwa Atik is the co-founder of Vela Scarves. And she's changing the way we perceive hijabs with her contemporary designs. A born and bred California girl, Marwa was raised in the Sunshine State by her Syrian immigrant parents. 6 years ago, she made the huge decision to quit nursing school and start her own design business.
I was very passionate about my hijab, and I was really passionate about fashion.
She started by sewing in her room, upgrading to her garage, and now she works out of this facility in Los Angeles, California.
My main goal is just to get people inspired and to just get people excited about wearing the headscarf. I want to bring out the person's confidence and the person's inner style. So I try to keep that in mind in designing.
Marwa's working on her spring-summer collection, and it starts with a mood board.
I like to always have it as a point of reference just to make sure that I'm staying true to the design.
It was a recent trip to the Middle East where she found her latest inspiration. The Dome of the Rock is the most famous Islamic site in Jerusalem.
My eye keeps going back to this photo, and I'm just drawing inspiration from its colors and its traditional textiles and making sure that I'm just staying true to it.
That striking image inspired a scarf called the Ruffle Prima, made from a cerulean blue high multi-chiffon that's adorned with 5 layers of white or blue ruffles. It's exactly the combination of new and old Marwa's designs are known for.
The traditional hijab, it's a very plain canvas. Oftentimes it might have some textiles or some patterns to it. For me, it's taking something that's not normally on a headscarf and putting it on a headscarf and making it work.
Hijabs are relatively simple to produce. Marwa works closely with her production manager, Hector, to evaluate fabric samples.
Different blends of fabrics work for different types of scarves in terms of design.
A lot of contemporary headscarves are created from chiffon, so they have a very light yet voluminous texture.
From here, Hector takes over, creating a digital pattern. The body of this scarf is an angled rectangle, made long enough to pin and wrap. The ruffles are 4 half circles, each one bigger than the last. That pattern guide helps Hector maximize fabric yield. Once cut, it's assembled for the sewing line. Here, it receives a rolled hem around the edges, using a single stitch to perfect the embellishing layer.
Because I like how that's skinny and then this is still thick. Yeah, so let's just do it like that.
And in one final swoop, the ruffles are hand-sewn, layering the fabric and securing them to drape around the neck. No one knows how to style a hijab better than Marwa, who's famous for her signature style, the Vela knot.
I just wanted a new style and a new way to wear it. Ever since then, girls all over the world have been styling it in that way as well. I really think it's gonna be a really cool contrast piece for the summer. Looks really good on you.
You should have the option to change your look. Just because you can't change your hairstyle doesn't mean that you can't change your hijab.
I almost feel today that the hijab is like invisible. There are a lot of women wearing it. What it really comes down to is making an individual statement and be proud of it.
For me, wearing the hijab, it's about allowing people to see me for my personality and allowing people to see my energy and not having it relied on the way that I look or the shape of my silhouette.
Easy question. What's the most important item of any outfit?
Their shoes.
Shoes will always make the outfit.
Shoes are a definite statement piece.
You can tell the measure of a man by his shoe size.
And one shoe in particular is making a bigger impact than ever.
Every man should own a pair of sneakers. They're so fashionable now. They're comfortable.
I own 52 sneakers. Yes, I have a shoe problem, but it's a good one.
And that brings us to the New Balance 998, a classic, sensible street sneaker with a fully customizable color palette. New Balance is one of America's oldest sneaker companies, making running shoes since 1906. And this iconic American sneaker is one of the few still manufactured in the USA.
The beauty of a New Balance shoe is that you can dress it up. You can put a jacket on, a blazer, and it really looks good with a nice-looking suit.
I love to wear sneakers with leather pads and just like white t-shirts.
So if you can look good and be comfortable, it's always a win.
That's why I have like 60 pairs.
This shoe addict is Maria Weissens. She's the plant manager here in Lawrence, Massachusetts, where the popular sneaker is made. And it's worth noting right away, the 998 is no ordinary shoe, unless you want it to be.
You get to customize your own shoes. It's going to make you unique and different from everybody else. The look of the 998 is kind of like what I would picture on your streets of New York. The accents you can add kind of highlight the kind of personality that you have. So it's just very trendy, exciting shoe.
Needless to say, the Style Factory team would like a pair of custom 998s. But what to do?
I'm going full-on Rastafarian colors. Red, black, green, and yellow.
Go neon, go bright, and make a statement.
As you can see, we've gone for blue with neon highlights. You can choose your colors either online or in a New Balance store. Then your custom design is transferred to the production line, who will turn this dream into a reality. Any shoe is essentially made of two major components: a bottom, aka the sole, and a top, what shoemakers call an upper. The New Balance tops are made of several small leather pieces that get stitched together.
So the manufacturing process starts at cutting. There's two different types of cutting. You have synthetic material, and then the other material we have is your leather material.
First, a New Balance associate selects the right color fabric per the shoe's design. Mariano here die cuts nearly 20 individual leather shapes that will make the upper. Meanwhile, both layers of the iconic New Balance letter ends are cut and stuck together by hand. Now, the leather pieces come together to get stitched into the upper, and that's done with this automatic stitching machine. The components are layered onto a vamp, that's this white inner lining, and held in place by small metal spikes. At last, the flat upper is stitched together. Thanks to machines like this, New Balance is able to produce up to 3,000 pairs of shoes every day. But not before the stitched together uppers go to embroidery, where the custom words are, well, embroidered. One word on each heel.
2 words. 1, love. Boom! Jamaica, hello.
Now we have a flat upper, ready to be folded into the foot-shaped shoe top. And that happens in the closing section.
That's where the magic happens, because that's when it actually starts looking like the shoe.
The final phase of production connects the shoe tops with the pre-made sneaker soles. An associate puts the tops into a steamer to soften the leather. Then a last, basically a foot mold, is stuffed into the cavity. This lasting machine uses heat and glue to mold and lock the upper into its proper shoe shape.
So by the time you're done with it, you have your full shoe, less the sole.
The pre-cut soles are finally added using a combination of glue, heat, and pressure. The finished shoes are given one final special inspection before being boxed and shipped to their very specific owners with their totally unique styles.
I like to rock it with gowns. Yep.
You should never wear sneakers to a wedding.
So don't do it.
Unless you're in a wedding party and they force you to wear it.
Fashion designer Lucien Matisse is having a really good year. First, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau wore his design to a White House state dinner.
He's found his perfect muse. It's Sophie Trudeau and Lucien.
Then, his flowery spring-summer collection was awarded Best at Toronto's Fashion Week, where the star of the show was this ethereal, pearl-embellished poppy print gown.
I was just completely floored and overwhelmed. And of course, sales have increased, so I like that.
Now he's Canada's fashion darling, and all eyes are on this dress.
It is just so impactful, so pretty, and at the same time, tough and a little bit more powerful than what we associate with more dainty, feminine florals.
And it shows off his impeccable expertise and attention to detail. Skills he learned as a kid, working at his mother's boutique in Romania.
Because there was so little media, during communist times. Everything was kind of uniform and very bleak. My mom's company really flourished during those years.
Today, Lucien has a new hometown, Toronto, Canada.
Before you were hearing about designers who grew up in Canada but left. But Lucien actually lives here and is making a go of it here.
Lucien's cutting-edge styles all start with an old-fashioned sketch. This develops the silhouette of the dress and separates concept from detail.
When I do a sketch for the collection, I always try to think of who's gonna wear the garment. I always try to find purpose first, and then I work a little bit backwards.
With the sketch in mind, he moves to a Judy. This female dress form is where the design starts to take shape in a cotton fabric called muslin.
It's like white material, cotton material that we make all the garments in the first time so that we see the fit. We change a lot of the lines of the patterns by seeing it on the model. It would be a lot more expensive if we put it directly into the actual fabric because mistakes can happen. And so here we perfect the fit and then we transfer it onto the real material.
That material is chiffon, and it's a luxury fabric that was once worn as a sign of wealth and status. Today, its lightweight texture makes it perfect for everything from wedding dresses to lampshades. And it's the ideal canvas for Lucien's hand-painted poppies.
When I think about poppy, I think about the little flower that people put on their clothes for Remembrance Day.
Next, the process gets decidedly high-tech. A digital image of his painting is made and printed onto dye sub-transfer paper. The patterned paper and chiffon are pressed through a rotary calendar oven. This heats the ink, converts it to a gas, and infuses the dye onto the textile, creating a permanent, high-resolution print.
It's almost like the poppy against the blue sky. What we find in nature, I just transferred into fashion.
The chiffon is lined up on the cutting table and sealed for protection. Here, a computerized laser cuts each individual part of the dress, from the fitted bodice to the pleated skirt. These pieces are brought over to Tatiana, who sews additional layers onto the bodice and sleeves, giving the dress the strength it needs for all those delicate-looking pearls that are sewn on by hand.
Well, these pearls in particular are coated 7 times with mother of pearl. They're essentially indestructible. You have to hammer them really hard for them to break.
And like all true pearls, they've got real heft. So the dress needs all 4 layers to sustain the weight. As for the skirt, each pleat is intricately measured and crimped to create a formal fold. But pleats in general can be complicated. Buyer beware.
I actually like pleats. I feel like it makes your silhouette look longer. I think for most women, it's very flattering.
But it can be difficult. When you get a pleat that's starting to look like an accordion, that means it's not the pleat for you.
So like all things, the pleat's gotta suit your body type. Once the dress is sewn and hemmed, Lucien takes it through one last check, making sure the seams line up and the pleats fall perfectly.
I would say it needs a beautiful ring and maybe a pair of earrings, not chandelier, something high because of the opulence of the beading around it.
Ready to wear by women and first ladies alike.
Sophie Trudeau humanized the brand, so women who like her will likely gravitate toward his clothes. And I think he's really put made in Canada style out there to the world.
Coming up, we upend the biggest footwear controversy of all time.
Socks and sandals, it's a no-no.
We find a little ray of sunshine for curly hair.
We'll take a ride on the old dusty trail. Yeah! With an iconic cowboy hat.
But first, let's hit the open road with one of the coolest jackets ever made.
Men in leather jackets, hot, hot.
This is Style Factory. rebels, bikers, and badass rockers, there's only one jacket of choice. The Schott Brothers Perfecto motorcycle jacket in black leather. Handmade in the USA, the Perfecto couldn't be more American if it tried.
The motorcycle jacket is rebellious. There's something sexy about rebels.
Man in a leather jacket's hot, hot, hot. Which woman doesn't love a bad boy?
Bikers in the 40s wore the tough-as-hell leather jackets for protection on the open road. Soon, the rowdy gangs got a bad reputation. And Hollywood, well, they couldn't resist.
Nobody did a leather jacket like James Dean did a leather jacket. I mean, but I take that back, Marlon Brando. I mean, you have a couple guys that really epitomize the cool.
The motorcycle jacket was given a huge boost of popularity when Marlon Brando wore one as a very disaffected rebel in The Wild One in the early 1950s. And some schools also banned the motorcycle jacket as this symbol of rebellion.
Banning it from schools made kids want it even more, and business really exploded from that.
It's a story this dude has heard and told a million times.
My name is Jason Schott. I'm the 4th generation family member at Schott NYC.
That's right. Jason's great-grandfather was Irving Schott, son of a Russian immigrant and founding father of Schott NYC back in 1913. Schott had one goal: make high-quality clothing with the best American leather available. And it all happens in this 60,000 square foot New Jersey factory.
The right leather has a tremendous amount of character. It's got that leather smell. It's got the drag when you run your hand along it. You can feel the right amount of resistance. So over time, a leather jacket is actually gonna mold to your body and feel even better.
I'm a big fan of real leather. I mean, I'm wearing a leather jacket right now.
With the good quality leather, the older it gets, the better it ages.
The Perfecto's design hasn't changed much since 1928. Long sleeves protect the rider from road rash in case they fall. A built-in body belt keeps the jacket tight, and the defining feature, the asymmetrical zip, running up the body, keeping the wind off at 100 miles per hour. The Perfecto contains 47 individual pieces, and to go from a sheet of all-American leather hide to a gnarly ride takes about 1 day. The jacket panels are cut by hand using cutting-edge technology, such as stencils and a razor blade.
The leather cannot be cut by machine. It's impossible to cut with a machine. Leather is different. You got damage, you got scars, so you gotta go pieces by pieces, pieces by pieces.
Once John's cut the leather pieces, they're bundled and sent to this station where the pocket holes get chopped out of the front panels. Then Sylvia glues down and bashes those pocket seams into place. It's basically the same process used by Irving when the jacket was created. Charlie here can back us up on that.
This is one of the earliest versions that we have. This one happens to be horsehide. We want new jackets to look like this old jacket. We work with the tanneries to create leathers that, when they're new, they look like how this jacket looks after being 75 years old.
Charlie's been the chief designer at Schott for years. It's a job that's mostly kept his rebellious nature in check.
I don't follow trends. I follow trends in some things, but not leather jackets.
One feature of the Perfecto has avoided trends since the jacket's inception: the off-center body zip.
My great-grandfather was the first person to put a zipper in a jacket, and by doing so invented the motorcycle jacket.
Biker style is my favorite style because there's even more zippers than normal, so I love hardware on jackets.
The front and back panels are sewn together, then the sleeves. Now the legendary shoulder straps, called epaulettes, are sewn on. Before, those famous 5-pointed star studs are popped on using a kick press.
I usually say the more the merrier with studs, spikes, gems, rhinestones, sequins, grommets, rivets. The more the better.
After the lining is attached, this spike is used to push out and sharpen the corners.
Every leather jacket needs to have some sort of leather oil. Periodically, you need to restore the natural oils within the leather. You want to keep it away from too much heat.
The Perfecto is now ready to hit the highway.
It's amazing to me how These jackets just seem to never go out of style. The Ramones were fans of our brand, the Beastie Boys and Lady Gaga.
This jacket is brand new, but it'll be years before it really looks and feels finished. Just the way Shot likes it.
You just have to wear it. You gotta put it in the house. You gotta sleep in it. You gotta sweat in it. You gotta get it dirty.
I've heard from a number of people who feel like they can't wear this jacket. It's too much, it's too bold. I think it's all in the head. You know, you just have to let out your inner badass a little bit.
We're talking about socks?
That's right. Socks are a great way to kick up your style.
A very bright person wears bright socks.
My socks always have to have a color, a print. It's just a reflection of who I am.
Turns out, letting loose below the knee isn't exactly a new trend.
The earliest socks were almost like, picture it as a sock boot. They were made of animal skins and they were tied up around the ankles and the calf.
Luckily, times have changed. Today, we're heading to Fort Payne, Alabama, where socks have always had a special purpose.
Fort Payne, Alabama was once known as the sock capital of the world. We manufactured 1 of every 8 pairs of socks globally. Yeah, and that's a lot.
Until manufacturing moved overseas and orders started drying up.
We had over 125 mills here. Now there's probably less than 20.
Gina Locklear is the founder of Zucano Socks, and she's working hard to get Fort Payne back on its feet.
The New York Times gave me a nickname, the Sock Queen of Alabama. I can't even say it.
Her reign started 9 years ago when Gina got involved in the family business.
I thought, hey, if we can have our own brand of socks, we can control the manufacturing, hopefully we can build it into a successful brand, and then no one can take away our manufacturing business from us.
So she took over her family's mill, producing the vibrant socks she's now famous for. Like the knee-high Mara, made with organic cotton and low-impact dyes.
Organic cotton is grown without the use of chemicals and pesticides. It's better for the environment and it's better for your skin.
Gina starts every new collection with an old-fashioned brainstorm.
I feel like we really have a great base that we're working off of. Going forward, we want to make sure we're progressing with the colors as they evolve through the market.
Socks are a sensible business, but that hasn't stopped people from using them to make a statement. So Gina and her team make sure to keep up with current trends and apply them to old standbys.
Well, the Mara is my personal favorite because we use black and natural in it throughout the sock, and it's very bold, yet it's wearable, and our customers love it.
Once they settle on a style for the season, the knitting process kickstarts on the factory floor. Spools of brightly colored organic cotton, nylon, and elastic yarns sit on large metal rods called creels,
which feeds the yarn down into the knitting machine.
Vance helps the process along, threading the yarn into the knitter's 4-inch cylinder.
The Mara takes about 2 minutes and 30 seconds to knit.
For knitting to happen at this speed, the machine follows a pre-programmed pattern. That starts with the top band, called the welt, and finishes at the toe with something called the clip. Each sock is knit with 144 individual needles.
When the socks finish knitting, it kind of looks like a tube. The sock is open.
And they're put into a vacuum tube one at a time, which sucks the sock through and turns it inside out.
You align them on what we call a blade or a guide.
This device catches the sock by the toe and seals both the front and back side seams.
And then once that happens, it's turned right side out again. And then from that point, it's ready to go to the finishing.
Finishing is actually more like laundering. The socks are given a cold water chemical-free rinse and tumbled in an energy-efficient dryer. Each sock is placed onto an already heated metal foot form, which gives them their shape. Then they're sent through an enclosed carousel that heats them up to smooth them out.
When they're finished with their cycle, then they're nice and wrinkle-free.
A mechanical arm removes each sock. And they're ready to be inspected, packaged, and labeled.
I think the knee-high sock is really cute on some girls, but you have to have the style to go with it.
My favorite way is to wear them with a skirt in the fall. If you're bold enough, the Mara sock looks really cute with chunky sandals.
And that right there is the world's biggest sock controversy.
Socks and sandals, it's a no-no.
I would say that socks and sandals is my shoe pet peeve. However, the other day I was on the plane and these guys got on and they were wearing these athletic socks with slide sandals and they looked so cool.
Oh my God.
First novelty socks, now socks and sandals. Leave it to hipsters to make anything cool.
For men and women, I think knee-high socks, they're go-to pieces. Something colorful, something bright.
There's only one thing on Earth that outshines the Lone Star State, and it's a hat.
It's just Stetson.
That's right, Stetson's cowboy hat. Specifically, the Stetson Skyline 6X in Sahara felt.
I am not fully dressed unless I have a hat on.
Ricky Bolin has worn many cowboy hats in his life. As a rodeo bull rider, a rancher, and most recently, a Stetson lifer.
I've put 2 daughters through college with Stetson hats, paid for a couple of weddings.
The origins of the Stetson are about as Wild West as it gets. Legend has it that sometime in the 1860s, John B. Stetson cut an oversized sun hat with a tall, indented crown to trap cool air above his head. He stiffened the brim, folding the edges up to control the direction of air and rainwater. Stetson may not have struck gold, but he went on to make a fortune with his famous cowboy hat. Fast forward some 150 years, and the fully functional Stetson is a Texas-sized fashion statement.
I like the cowboy lifestyle because it's very rodeo, very dirty, very outside. They know what they're doing. I know how to ride a horse. Love the cowboy. I have a ranch.
I think the cowboy hat's a dangerous piece. If you don't live that lifestyle, then it looks like a costumey piece.
Sure, it can be a Halloween getup, but its effect on real fashion can't be denied, starting in Hollywood. We still fondly remember our favorite Western heroes. From Buffalo Bill to John Wayne, carving up the Wild West, all under the shade of a Stetson. The felt hats arrive at the 25,000 square foot factory in Garland, Texas, as lifeless Stetson templates. Felt is one of the world's oldest fabrics, made by mixing and mashing furs together, then blending and drying them into the stiff fabric. Stetson has made its felt basically the same way since 1865.
In order to keep that Stetson tradition going and making the product the way that it's always been made, a lot of our machinery here was manufactured in 1800s.
When the felt hat templates arrive in Garland, they aren't exactly the sexy, masculine symbol of the open range. So the first step is softening them up, preparing the hats to transform.
They go through a procedure called first block. And what that does is it kind of forms the body into making what the person off the street would recognize as a hat.
But the felt hats are still too floppy to work with, so they're sent to the stiffening section. Here, a top secret lacquer is squeezed and pressed onto every hat.
Then it sets to dry for like 3 days.
And Stetson learned the hard way that sometimes the best methods are tried and true.
So we purchased the oven several years ago. Long story short, the oven did not work and it was very, very expensive. So 3 to 4 days is the drying process and there's no need in trying to speed that up.
3 days later, the hats are dry and the brims are sanded until smooth. A process John B. Stetson could easily recognize today.
When we sand our product and you don't get all the loose fibers, we will do a singeing technique which actually burns them off.
But the hat still doesn't look like a Stetson. Cue the crown press. This machine presses the iconic Stetson indentations into the crown using 80 pounds of pressure. Now the brim can get straightened out. And by that, we mean folded up.
You know, I get very excited about that because that's when the hat starts coming alive.
something I think that looks best when it's placed with something that really it shouldn't be worn with. So say maybe like a white leather coat and a great black cowboy hat.
Next, a leather sweatband is sewn into the crown.
To me, a leather sweatband in our hats is one of the most important things. Because of comfort, the most irritating thing there is for your hat not to stay on your head correctly.
Nearing the end of the process, the decorative buckle band is added to the base of the crown.
So it's like a little detail that makes it super special.
Finally, the lining is glued in. And every lining on this, the most popular Stetson, tells a classic Stetson story.
We have a lot of different photos that we put inside of hats, but our most common is what we call the last drop. The cowboy bent over, dipping water out of a stream, and he's watering his horse out of his hat. You know, to people that think about it, buying a hat, they know the Stetson name because they've always heard it. Their grandfather wore it. Their great-grandfather wore it. It kind of makes you want to stick your chest out because you know you're basically wearing the best hat product made in the world today.
What does Kerry Russell and Kit Harington, aka Jon Snow, have in common? Curly hair, of course. But anyone will testify. While it's gorgeous, it's also a pain to maintain, especially when you're dealing with the curl's #1 foe, frizz.
Well, frizzy hair is not good, period.
Frizzy hair, no bueno.
My favorite curly hair icon is Shirley Temple by far.
I do not have frizzy hair issues, fortunately.
Well, aren't you lucky? For everyone else, there's celebrity hair guru Mark Anthony.
I remember the first time that I walked onto the red carpet at the Oscars, styling hair for Blake Lively and Paris Hilton. It's really a dream come true.
And he's taken all that A-list expertise to create a product that tames unruly curls once and for all. The Strictly Curls Curl Envy Cream.
This is unlike any other product, and it's grown to be one of the best-selling products around the world. Record-breaking sales.
His popular curl cream is made in Toronto, Canada, where the weather isn't exactly frizz-friendly.
If you're in humidity, you're gonna get extra frizz. In the winter, the frizz comes out even more because all the moisture is being taken out of your curls.
Most people with curly hair always check the weather before they style their hair.
For insurance, there's always the bottle. Key ingredients are soybean oil, shea butter, and vitamin E. Throw avocado oil in there, and you've got the cream's starter ingredients. These help lock in said moisture and repair dry and brittle hair.
Starting in the shower, you want to leave a little bit of extra conditioner in your hair and just comb through, get the tangles out of your curls. The next step is when you come out of the shower, don't over towel dry your hair. That's gonna cause distortion of the cuticle. It's gonna make the hair really, really frizzy.
At the mixing tank, water acts as the cream's base. It's blended with those all-natural starter ingredients and followed with a series of enriching fatty spirits. That's sterile alcohol, cetearyl alcohol, and bihentrimonium chloride. Complicated chemical names for ingredients that will stabilize the cream and detangle any gnarly curls.
Curly hair wasn't always considered a hassle. It was actually considered to be one of the most beautiful features that a man or a woman could possess in ancient Greece. It was so beautiful in the 20s with the pink curls, the 70s, the really cool afros. Yeah, curly hair's amazing.
As long as you have a good hairdresser.
Girls don't like the curly hair for two very specific reasons. One is they don't know what to do with it. And the second, that the shape or the cut is not appropriate for the hair type.
All curls should have layers. But the danger is those layers can't be too short. They have to be long layers so that curls can move freely.
Exactly what the Curl Envy Cream allows them to do. The mixture emulsifies into a creamy texture. Then it's pumped to the filling station. These yellow curl tubes are loaded into a hopper.
The Curl Girl brings sunshine into your life, and that's how we chose the color yellow.
The tubes are individually fed onto a puck that holds them upright, and they make their way around a turntable to be filled with the curl cream. Half-built cartons are loaded onto a machine, and the tubes are dropped in. The cartons are sealed and ready to hit over 45,000 stores and salons worldwide.
It's so easy to use the Curl Envy cream. All you have to do is take a little bit, emulsify it in your palm, and what that does is activates the ingredients so that you can start to work it through your hair.
When it comes to drying curly hair, avoid touching it. You're only adding frizz. That's all you're doing. You should let your hair dry 95% and look like a wet-looking rock star, but then you start crunching it.